Hello everyone, it's Roy here from IZODS. Hope you're well. As I record this, it seems like spring has sprung. The sun is shining, there's some warmth, so all is good. Anyway, onwards. So today we are going to have a quick look at another pen from the Montblanc Writers Edition series. And today it's the Homage to Homage, which is this pen here. It was released in 2018 and takes its inspiration from the author of the epic poems The Iliad and the Odyssey, Homage. The design itself is modelled on the Trojan horse. There we go. You can see it's quite a muscular looking pen, for want of a better word. And the shape of it refers to the horse. It's a really interesting one. When the pen first came out, it kind of seemed to really sit alone amongst other writers' editions. We're used to the more kind of slender shape, and it very obviously being part of the writers' edition series. You know, every release is different, but you kind of got that same silhouette in many ways on a lot of them. Whereas the Homage kind of went crazy. We're big fans, but yeah, for a lot of people, it's totally different to all of the other releases. So let's have a look. The pen itself is black resin, which we're obviously familiar with. It's a kind of, I wouldn't say fully matte, has a slight sheen to it, but it's not the kind of classic Meisterstück gloss resin either. It's not as matte as the ultra black pens, but yeah, it sits somewhere in between. The clip is shaped like Achilles' spear. It's a big clip in terms of length. It's very noticeable. The cap ring and cap top ring, and then on the cone, the design uses motifs from Greek pottery, and obviously the use of the matte-ish black as well gives it a further nod to Greek pottery. Now, the one big feature here that puts it in a group of writers' editions that's very, very small is the use of the 9 nib, so the 149 size nib. Now, the club is very small. You've obviously got the Hemingway, you've got the Dumas, and then you've got the Homage. Now, I'm of the opinion that there are, and it's just because, hey, I'm greedy when it comes to these things, there are a number of writers' editions that would look great with the 9 nib, whereas we tend to always get the 146 Legrand nib. You get some beautiful nib designs within that, but in terms of size, I know why Montblanc do it, but at the same time, God, there's so many pens that look great with the 9 nib, whereas we get it on this pen and it just works. It's a big, hefty pen, and yeah, I just think it would look wrong. So that I'm so glad they did it. It just looks great. And as I say, when you get the 3 of the writers' editions lined up all together with those, they are a very select but very beautiful club. One of the really interesting, is that the right word, features of the Homage is how many turns it takes to undo the cap or reattach the cap. I remember when we had our first one in not long after launch, you kind of did it and you thought, is there an issue here? Because it's keep going and then it's off. Like, yeah, this is not a pen that you're going to cap on, cap off really quickly. It's certainly a bit of theatre to do it. And yeah, I think occasionally you feel like there might be an issue, but there's not. it's really lovely. I mean, they only produced 9800 of the black resin version, which is pretty much there or thereabouts with what you'd expect from the standard release from the Writers Edition. Obviously there are other models that get much more limited than that. I mean, they're very beautiful, but with this one, it's tricky these days to track these down in really good condition. It's one of the Writers Editions where they've kind of comfortably found a home at above £1,000. There's a lot of really great pens within the Writers Edition series that comfortably sit below that threshold, but this has happily found a home somewhere around 1500, something like that, and rightly so. It does stand out from a lot of the other releases. It's quite a chunky pen, so for some people this is going to be potentially too much, but actually the shape of it I think makes it very comfortable. You can see there's that kind of taper. You almost get the bulbous part in the middle of the barrel, and then it tapers back down towards the cone. But personally, I think it's really comfortable. It sits, for me, it sits nicely. The section, I don't know, there's a good width to it, but it just sits nicely. Now obviously the Homer, being one of the later releases, features the new style boxes. It's always interesting for me when we've got customers that have collected the whole series, and I'm always interested to get their view on whether they like the new style packaging. The kind of folio style, or whether they'd rather it stuck with the kind of classic one. I always think if you've got the whole lot, I know a few collectors that have got the whole series and they like to line these up, and then you get to the more recent ones and suddenly you're taller and you've got a different form. I don't know. I understand the change. It kind of seems to be a slightly more contemporary style and works, but it's interesting to get people's views. Anyway, this is the Homer. For us, it's a winner. We really like it. Everything about it just seems to fit the bill and fit the subject. It's a big, muscular pen. The use of the 149 nib, 100%. I think if this had the smaller 146 nib, it just, I don't know, it wouldn't look right. This is a big pen, and then to not have the big nib. So well done Montblanc for doing it. Be interesting to see what future releases come up where they roll out the 149 nib again. But yeah, it works really well. You've obviously got the snow cap sitting on top there. Yeah, really lovely. One of the things that I always notice on these is the limitation numbers, which can be found to the left of the clip. They're incredibly faint on these. Incredibly faint. They're very difficult to spot. So occasionally we get calls from people saying, I just can't see the number on it. It's like, it definitely is there. You just need to get it in the right light. But yeah, anyway, that's the homage to Homer. I hope you liked the video, and we'll be back very soon. Take care.